Believe it or not, a conflict happening thousands of miles away could actually shape your entire career. It sounds crazy, right? But today, we're going to break down exactly how tensions in the Middle East draw a straight line right to India's plastic industry. So let's just jump right into the big questions everyone's asking.
All right, so what are the burning questions here? First up, if things in the Middle East really escalate, what does that actually mean for the future of the plastics industry as a whole? And maybe more important for our day-to-day, are we about to watch the price of our raw materials just skyrocket?
And then there's the one that keeps people up at night. Could the supply of polymers and master batch get so messed up that production lines actually start grinding to a halt? Yeah, these are the big ones, and we're going to tackle them right now.
Okay, so to really get a grip on this, we have to go back to the very beginning. Let's dive into our first section, oil, war, and plastic. We're going to see how these three things are all tangled up together.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts with one word, petrochemicals. You've heard it a million times, but what are they really? Simple. They're just chemicals pulled from crude oil and natural gas. And here's the kicker. They are the absolute fundamental building blocks for pretty much every plastic out there. No petrochemicals, no plastic. It's that simple.
So look at how this works. It's a super simple chain, which is actually what makes it so fragile. Step one, your crude oil. That gets refined into petrochemicals, things like ethylene and propylene. And what do those become? Step three, the plastic polymers we all know and use like PE and PP. See that? It's a straight shot, a direct line from an oil well somewhere in the world right to your factory floor.
And this is where it all clicks into place. The Middle East is the world's #1 oil producer. End of story. So what that means is any tiny bit of instability over there, any conflict, any tension, it doesn't just stay there. It sends massive shockwaves rippling through the entire global plastic industry. It's just a fact of life for us.
Okay, so now we see the connection. So, what happens when that connection gets stripped? That brings us to Section 2, what I'm calling the triple threat. These are the three big problems that pop up almost immediately when trouble starts.
First up, and no surprise here, the price of crude oil just goes wild. A war, or even just the rumor of a war, makes everyone panic about supply. And bam, a price that was sitting comfortably at, say, $80 a barrel can leap to $100, or even more, practically overnight.
And, since our plastics are literally made from that oil, that price hike doesn't just stop at the pump. It's like a domino effect. The petrochemical guys have to pass that cost on, and it just rolls downhill, hitting everything. We're talking price jumps for all the big ones, PPPEPVC, and it goes all the way up to those fancy engineering plastics too.
And for those of you in master batch, this isn't just about the base polymers. This hits you guys hard too. Why? Because the carrier resins in your master batch, that stuff that holds all the color and additives together, that also comes from petrochemicals. So when oil goes up, so does the cost of your most basic ingredients.
All right, threat number 2. We move from your wallet to your watch. We're talking logistics, and this can be a total nightmare. Think about it. A ton of our raw materials are floating on ships that have to pass through the Middle East. If those shipping lanes suddenly become dangerous, you get massive delays, shipping costs that go through the roof, and then shortages. And that's when factories start sitting idle, waiting for materials that aren't coming.
So that's the global picture, but let's bring it home. What does all this mean for us, right here in India? Well, that takes us to Section 3, and it's really a story of two sides of the same coin. A huge challenge, but also a pretty surprising opportunity.
You can see the two fronts laid out really clearly here. On one hand, you've got the challenge, and it's a big one. We import a lot of our polymers, right? So when global prices for PP, PE, and PVC shoot up, our manufacturing costs right here at home go up with them. But, on the other hand, there's a massive opportunity. If the rest of the world's supply chain is in chaos, who can step in to fill that void? India can. It's a chance to seriously boost our exports and give our own domestic petrochemical suppliers a huge leg up.
So, let's zoom in on that challenge for a second. Who gets hit first? Well, it's the usual suspects. The packaging industry feels it right away. So do the folks making plastic parts for cars, electrical components, and all those everyday consumer goods. For all of them, the cost of doing business just got a lot higher.
But let's talk about that opportunity, because this is where it gets exciting. We've got domestic powerhouses like Reliance, IOCL, and Gale, who are, frankly, perfectly positioned for this.
They have the capacity to ramp up production and become the go-to supplier for countries that are scrambling for a stable source. This could be a huge win for Indian exports. Okay, so we've looked at India, but let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk about the most important person in this equation, you. That's section 4. What does this all mean for you and your career?
You know that old saying, in every crisis, there's an opportunity? Well, it might be a cliche, but in a market this shaky, it's never been more true, especially for skilled professionals like you. Think about it. When costs are going crazy and you're not even sure if your next shipment is going to arrive, companies aren't just looking for someone to clock in and out. They need problem solvers. Suddenly, your value goes through the roof if you're the person who knows about cost reduction or how to optimize materials. If you're skilled in recycling, sustainability, or developing new alternative materials, you're not just valuable, you become mission critical.
So here's the bottom line. If you're a polymer engineer, a quality engineer, or a master batch developer, in a crisis like this, your expertise isn't just nice to have, it becomes absolutely essential. You're the person who can steer the ship through the storm. And all of this leaves us with one last really important question to think about. It's pretty clear that these global shocks, they aren't going away. They're part of the new normal for our industry. So the real question is, are you, and is your career strategy ready for the next one? That's what I'll leave you with.